What's up, Helldivers? Ever want to be a ribbed soldier from 400, able to cut down anyone in your way and scantily clothed? Well, I can't help you. But I do have this Gladiator build that I consider S tier. The Gladiator mode is great because it can do long range, it can do short range, and it's only got a teeny tiny bit of blind spot in the middle, which you'll see more as you play, if you play it. It's a bot build, and it can handle bots from the very smallest to the biggest, except for a factory strider cannon. Those I found really hard to deal with just the guns and pack. I've really had an amazing time with this build. I consider it S tier. I can't really, I find it hard to put it down. The only time I do is when I have wide open maps that I like to bring the spear on, which we'll be talking about later this month, so be prepared for that. It allows you to walk down devastators, heavy devastators. You can't do the missile devastators too well, but with a little bit of sidestep action, you can deal with them as well, and we can talk about that later. All right, so let's get on to the build. The build starts with the Ballistic Shield in the AMR, and then you're gonna bring the Airstrike, the Eagle Airstrike, and these three, this is pretty much gonna be the solid core of the build. We know that when we get up to level 9 on bots, usually we can only bring 3 stratagems, so these are the 3 I would suggest. Between the Ballistic Shield and the AMR, the defender, which we'll talk about later, you can pretty much deal with any enemy without a stratagem as long as you don't get flanked or overran. For the last stratagem, I usually like to take the Mortar. It's great for horde clearing and crowd control with bots. But if you're dealing with one of those bunker missions where the giant bunker is there and it's pretty effing annoying, then you should bring a 380 instead of the Mortar. And if you're playing more of a support class, then I would suggest the Shield. Really, though, the last stratagem is up to you. We all know which stratagems we really like to bring when we're facing bots, if we're bot players. But if you're not, I don't really know why you came. I feel like I made it clear that this was a bot build. The main weapon is going to be a defender so that you can use your main weapon while you use your shield. And let me tell you, it's so great. You feel invincible as long as people are right in front of you and not 180 degrees to your left and right. You should be blocking everything except for explosives. Do not try and tank a cannon round. Do not try and tank a missile. You will lose your shield. Second weapon is going to be the Senator. This thing, after the 1.0003 buff, has been just so much fun to use versus bots. I feel like John Wayne all the time. I thought nothing was going to be able to replace the Redeemer, and I may never put the Senator down, unless, of course, I need to pick up the grenade pistol, which is always a great choice. Armor, as usual, I'm going with the Engineer kit. I just love having those 6 grenades. If you guys think another armor works well, let me know down in the comments, but I'm really loving engineering kit armors, and I feel like they really need a heavy one. That would be awesome. So how to use this build. If you're doing it right, and if you are planning your situations, picking your fights, you should never really have to use the shield. I have went 75%, 80% of matches with only using the AMR. And it doesn't mean that the shield was useless. It just meant that I was prepared for every situation, which is possible sometimes, and sometimes it's impossible. When you get caught with your pants down, switch to your secondary, hold up that shield, point in the direction of your aggressors, and it should handle the situation fine. The defender's not the fastest at taking things down, but when you're not taking any damage and you can just go ahead and pop a headshot, it really does compete with the Scorcher as far as I'm concerned, with overall effectiveness when you have the Ballistic Shield. Like I said, when somebody gets close, make sure you're immediately using your shield. You still are going to need cover. Don't think you can stand in the middle of the field with this, stand out in the middle of nowhere. You are going to need that cover kind of close, but it gives you a lot of breathing room to maybe poke out a little more from cover, or to get a good flanking position, or you can use it to run. If you switch to your third weapon, the shield, or by third weapon I mean support weapon, your shield will actually go onto your back. Or if you switch to a weapon that is two-handed, your shield will go to your back. So if you don't bring the defender for the main weapon and you bring something else, you can actually switch to that weapon, run away, and it should block a good amount of fire coming your way. It's not 100%, but it's pretty good. I've loved it. You can even reload and turn around, and this will block a lot of shots coming your way. I found it super super effective and useful. You want to, with this build, take aggro as much as you can, since you have a shield and since a lot of the small small caliber rounds don't affect your shield. You can just have everybody pointing at you while they take care of the situation from the background. Maybe they don't have a shield and you do. You should always be up front if there's a problem, or you should be kind of in back taking out the problem that way. This thing has a lot of different ways to deal with bots without getting your hands too dirty. That shield is not infinite, and this is something I didn't realize when I started playing the build. If you take a shot from a cannon turret, a cannon tower, it's most likely going to delete your shield. It's most likely going to bring it down to 0 HP. And whenever the shield gets down to 0 HP, it just kind of disappears. It falls out of your hand, but in the heat of a moment, that's really hard to pay attention to. It's happened to me, and I didn't notice it until I went back to view the footage. So replace the shield often. It does have a faster cooldown time at around like 4.5 minutes. Or so, not like the almost 6 minutes from the rest of the support stratagems. So you can be calling this thing down as long as you're staying safe and being sensible. You should be able to have a shield for the entire match. The drop shot's back. The pop and drop, the drop and pop. I got a lot of suggestions, and I'm still kind of picking, but I think I like the pop and drop. I think I like that one. So what you're gonna do is just same thing, jump back in the air and fire. That'll point the gun directly in front of you, and if you've got some people chasing you, this is a great way to get rid of them without having to slow down too much. I'm honestly finding that this method is just great in general. Jumping and shooting, it's great, and I might have to put it in like a tips or trick video or something like that, but do remember hip fire and drop shots. Earlier we talked about the missile devastators, and like I said, if they are shooting at you and you don't have any cover, you're out in the open, you can sidestep slightly to avoid their missiles, and you can do this even when you're aiming down sights with the Ballistic Shield. The tracking is a little slow. It's good, but it's slow, and I feel like this is the case for all AI in the game. The slower you move, the harder they have the harder time they have tracking you. So this works with chargers, it works with devastators, it works with cannon turrets, it works with a lot of things. The faster you're going, it almost seems easier for them to predict where you're going to be. So just remember to walk slower, take it slow, sidestep. You don't always have to jump and dodge. Alright guys, that's it for this video. If you made it this far, why don't you consider liking, subscribing, leave a comment. Let me know what you think about this build. This build I actually do see used when I go into Helldive to play with, you know, randoms, and it makes me super happy. To me, it means that people are kind of ranging out, and I'm wondering, is that because of the new balancing, or maybe there's just more variety in Helldive? I'm not sure, but you guys let me know. Maybe some of you guys play Helldive all the time. I'm a sparing Helldive player. I'll definitely play it 25% to 40% of the time, but I don't spend all my time in Helldive. I've got kids, I've got a family, I've got a house. I can't be that much of a sweat. I'm sorry, but I really do respect you guys that do. So let me know what you think. Peace.